In this tutorial, in Adobe Premiere Elements 2018, we're going to show you how to make it more interesting when part of your video production contains a static image like the one you see on the screen. I'd like to show you the difference between a narration with a static image and one with an image using a pan and zoom to make the camera, as it were, move across the image. Notice the difference in this short clip. This is a lighthouse on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan that's viewed by tourists even today. This is a lighthouse on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan and is still a tourist attraction today. Oftentimes, I will prefer to do panning, which is left to right, up and down, or zooming by using keyframes. But Premiere Elements 2018 has a nice shortcut you can use if you prefer. In order to do that, you simply take the image that you have in your project assets box, and for me it's this picture of a lighthouse on Lake Michigan, and drag it down to your video track. Then with it highlighted, you can launch this tool in one of two ways. You can click on the Tools box at the top and choose Pan and Zoom. The other option you have is you can click on your toolbox in your action bar on the upper right and choose Pan and Zoom. Either way gets you to the same location. Let me describe the screen as you see it. Premiere Elements tries to guess a couple of possibilities for panning and zooming. It found two in this case. One is labeled number 1, the other obviously number 2. And both of them center around the very center of the screen. To move from one to the other, you can take the mouse on the previous screen and click on the box and you will see it, or you can click down here in the timeline and you will be able to see 1 or 2, and you can highlight either one. Let's see what the information we have on each of these frames. Number 2 here tells me the hold time. That's the time at which the image will freeze at that location. Rounds it up or down to the nearest second. It gives a number. It also gives me a plus or minus. If I click on the plus, I can enlarge it. If I click on the minus, I can make it smaller. I can also change the size by holding the mouse over any corner, and it proportionately will make it larger or smaller incrementally as I so choose. I can also make the frame go away by clicking on the X in the circle in the upper right corner. Now you notice we also have a timeline here. 1S here happens to be my first. I click down here. This is my first frame location, and it tells me I have a 1-second hold, and right now I have a 19-second gap before my second frame, which holds also for a second. If I want to see what this looks like in preview mode, I simply click the preview button, and the preview will move my current time indicator. It'll start out with the first one, which is almost full screen, and then it will slowly, in those 19 seconds, move to the second frame, which is centered in the middle. I don't find this all that attractive in this particular case, so let's make some changes here. I like the first one where it starts out big, but if I want to focus, say, on the lighthouse, I'm going to take my number 2, highlight it, and then we'll go ahead and make it somewhat smaller. I'm not going to change the duration. I can if I want to. If I double click on hold, I can change it. 29 frames is in effect a second, and I could change the number any way I wanted. I'll show you another way to do that. The other way to change the hold time is I can take the hold box, which is green, take the second down triangle and drag it wider, and now I just changed it. Again, it rounds it up or down. So now I'm going to hold it at that second position for 3 seconds. If I want to move the entire unit in my timeline, I use the first down arrow. For example, let's take the second one here, and let's say we want to move this. We'll take the left down arrow, move it over here, and now I have I have changed the distance and time between the first hold and the second hold. If I want to make them close together, I'm going to take the down arrow, drag it way back over here. Now I only have 5 seconds between the two. And so that's one way to change that. The default is 1 second for the hold, 5 seconds for the movement, no matter how far apart the frames are. So those are ways in which you can vary the length of time that the image is held, as it were, the camera is steady, and the number of seconds it takes to go from one frame to the next frame. Let me give you some other options. If you want to change the defaults, you can click on the settings wheel in the lower left corner. This is where you can change the default hold time, again, which is 1 second, and the default pan time. When Adobe Premiere Elements 2018 is looking for faces, you can also change the direction of the natural flow from the default, which is a Z pattern, to the reverse, which is an S pattern. I'm not going to mess with that in this particular tutorial. So now I have 2 frames. What if I want more than 2? Well, I've got the option to add new frame down here. I click on this, and it starts the next frame in the center at a default size. I can take that frame and move it, or I can leave 2 there. I have 3 here now. I'm going to take number 3 and move it and enlarge it. I can do this as many times as I want, and I can take it, drag it, resize it, and move it. There's the number 5. Again, it starts in the middle, and I can take it, drag it, and move it. Now you notice on the screen when it comes to the number of frames I see, the limit is 3. Right now I'm clicked on number 5, so I can see 5 and 4. If I click on 4, I can see 3, 4, and 5. So I can see 1 up and 1 down unless I'm on the either end. If I click on 3, I can see 2, 3, and 4. If I click on 2, I can see 1, 2, and 3. So I can only see 3 of the frames at a time up here. I can see all of them down here at the bottom. So that lets me click on any of them. Now this is a bit of a hodgepodge by now, but if I want to preview it, I'll just show you what we would see. I'm going to click on the preview button here, and it moves to the one location. We'll hold a second, and then it takes 14 seconds to move to the next location, and it will hold for a second, which is our default in the program, and then it will take 5, hold there for a second, and then give us 5 seconds and go to position number 4. And then I've got 5 seconds, it goes to position number 5, and then there's no more direction, so it just stays there. You notice as I'm going to click done, we're back to our main screen. But what it does is as you add more frames with a default length between them and the default size where the camera does not move, it actually enlarges your clip. It will not shrink the clip. If I go ahead, let's go back into this tool, pan and zoom, and let's take out some of these. You take them out by clicking on the green circle in the upper right corner. I'm going to take out that one. I'm going to take out this one, and I'm going to take out this one, so I'm back to 2. But you notice what happens. It does not shrink the clip. The clip will grow as you add more of these frames, or camera points, if you will, in your still image. But it will not shrink when you don't. You have to do that manually if you decide to do that. But this gives you a bit of an overview of some of the things you can do. If you want to undo all your work on that still image, you click on the reset in the lower left corner. And the minute you do that, it will clear it all out. And I'm going to click on done. And now I don't have any frames. I have simply my still image. That's a way to begin to make a still image a little more interesting by adding motion from one part to another in your project.